Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The Season 3 Reloaded update introduced a ton of new weapon changes. We saw some pretty surprising nerfs and some pretty surprising buffs in this update. And of course, it shifted the meta around quite a bit. So today, we are breaking down the new top 10 best loadouts to be using post Season 3 Reloaded. As we break them all down, if you enjoyed the video at any point, or if you find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, or if you have not already subscribed, every single day, I got you covered with all things going on in COD, news, updates, loadouts, tips. You're gonna find it all right here. So feel free to subscribe with those notifications turned on. So first things first, let's get my quick regain / necessary restock loadout out of the way. This is not a loadout I'm primarily using a ton of. It's mainly if I win a gulag and my loadout's in the map and I just need to make sure that I have max ammo on everything and I have like restock set to go so I can consistently use my equipment. This is not what I'm grabbing off my first loadout by any means. It's sort of that backup last resort option, but I do use it in gameplay here and there. So in this case, I have the automaton. You could use any primary rifle you like that has fully loaded on it. You just want to make sure you got that maximized rifle ammo or whatever weapon you're using fully loaded on. So first up here, MX silencer, keeping me off the map, helping out with that range and control as well. 600mm barrel, better control. The 3 to 6 times scope, 2.5 times also works. The G16, I think it's called. Whatever optic you're comfortable with, use that optic. We want to make sure you're landing your shots, right? Also going for the padded stock here, better control, tight grip, better control. Like I mentioned, fully loaded, probably the most important part of this entire class setup. Polymer for better control. The Sakura 75 round drums, perfect for taking on squads and duos, trios, quads. You could even use this in solos if you wanted to and just never worry about reloading in a fight. Also got lengthen on there for the better velocity and hand stop as well. For the secondary, I've got the rat. This is again just a case of it's a pistol that has fully loaded, so I'm maximizing my pistol and my sub ammo. If I open a chest after getting this loadout and I find a blue well gun out of it, I'm gonna drop the rat for the well gun. Or if I kill somebody, I'm gonna take their sub, and that way I have maximized ammo, right? So here's the setup, nothing too crazy. Stride for compensator, 98mm barrel, rapid action trigger for the better fire rate, 20 round mag, subsonic to keep me off the radar if I want to be a little bit more stealthy, fabric for better ADS, acrobatic for better movement, and then again, fully loaded. Like I said though, this is not like a key meta setup, it's a regain loadout. The perks though are pretty much the same as what I'd use in a general situation. Cold-blooded and perk 1 is my go-to because the combat scout spam. Restock in this case, obviously all the other classes pretty much are exclusive to overkill with a few exceptions. We'll talk about those next. Amped on there for the faster weapon swap, back to my primary in this case. For the lethal, I'm still running the throwing knife. This now one hits even on 300 HP, so that's super solid. However, they also buffed a lot of the other lethals as well. So like the frags, super useful. Semtexes are still great. Just comes down to preference there. And then while the stim is nerfed, for my playstyle, I still like it. I'm also like super muscle memoried into constantly trying to pop a stim. So oftentimes if I'm running a stun or a flash, I'll accidentally end up doing it to myself because I'm used to popping a stim. But that said, restock with the stuns, the flashes, the snapshots if you want to be kind of annoying. It's super powerful and you can't go wrong with any of those. Now, the next two loadouts are ones that I've been absolutely loving recently. I actually broke my PR with this loadout. This is a combination of the STG and then the amp as a pistol. So no overkill in this case. Instead, I have one class that's got tempered on here, and you'll notice I got another class that has restock. So I have it set up that way because obviously we have our lootable perks in game. Tempered and restock are what I think are the two most valuable in perk 2, obviously outside of overkill. So in this case, if I land early game and I get tempered, then I can know to grab my restock loadout here and I'm good to go. I have both perks off the rip and I can just push everyone in anything, right? On the contrary, if I get restock out of a chest first, I can grab my tempered loadout and I'm good to go from there. You can see it's the same setup for both the STG and the amp. This STG setup, my absolute favorite in the game right now. I anticipate this is going to get nerfed at some point soon, but this thing is hands down the best gun in the game at the moment. Here, we're going for the MX silencer, the 760mm barrel. It's going to be the best range, best control. The G16 2.5 times I've been loving on this build in specific. The 3 to 6 also works here. Again, same deal as before. If you're comfortable with an optic, use that optic. Precision stock here is great. Better ADS speed also helps out that very minuscule horizontal control that this has, or horizontal recoil that this has. Honestly, you could also use the folding stock on here if you wanted to, and the recoil is really not all that bad either. I've got nerves of steel in this case, better control while injured, so basically anytime you're in a gunfight, so that's pretty solid. Fully loaded to maximize that ammo. Polymer grip for the better control. This thing's an absolute laser beam. The Granco 50 has a slightly worse TTK than the 60, but it's got better control. You're gonna land more shots with this. Your TTK in theory is going to be way better with the Granco 50 versus the 60. So I've been loving that lengthened and hand stop on here as well. Now for my amp setup, this one is primarily just built for speed, for movement, for some close range capabilities. It's not going to always outgun an Owen or a PPSH or an MP-40, but it can be pretty solid up close if you know what you're doing. So here I got agency, I got task force for the better strafe speed primarily there, just to make me a little bit quicker. Tiger team for the better movement speed, 30 round mag, and then serpent rat for the better ADS. And like I said, that's the exact same class setup for both of those loadouts there. Now moving into some more regular loadouts with overkill ones that are a lot more practical for the majority of the player base. Again, I got the STG. This is, like I said, the best gun in the game, so of course I'm going to use it on a regular loadout. In this case, I'm pairing it with the Welgun. Great secondary option here. Set up here on this STG, exact same as before, so we don't have to go over that yet again. Clearly, the STG is very versatile in this meta right now. For the Welgun though, of course, first up I'm going for the recoil booster. I'm honestly back on the shrouded barrel. They did slightly nerf the short barrel with the season 3 reloaded update, so the better control and consistency of shrouded for just a slightly barely worse TTK versus short over range, I feel like is worth it because you get that movement back. Going for slate reflector here, remove stock for the better mobility. Obviously you gain that back because the shrouded barrel. Acrobatic for even more better mobility. Quick for even faster sprint speed. I also use the fabric grip in this case for the better ADS and the better sprint to fire. I'm still running with the Granco 40 round mags. They're super easy to use and really solid over range, even as like sniper supports. Going for lengthen for some of those mid-range fights to help that velocity and hit reg feel a bit better, then hand stop for better control on here as well. This is a very versatile Owen setup. You could use this as a secondary, as I am here, but also as sniper support if you wanted to as well. Next up, I got a combination of the Vargo and then also the Owen. We all know the Owen's a beast, even though it got nerfed with season 3 reloaded. There's a specific setup here that still works very well, and the Vargo actually got buffed when a lot of the other Cold War weapons got nerfed. So this thing is now a top choice for, you know, medium to long range fights with the rifle. It's super easy to use and it hits hard. The setup here, not unique at all though. It's the basic copy and paste Cold War setup, agency, task force, Spetsnaz, 60, and then also the 3x optic as well. No surprises here, but it is surprising how good this is in the current meta. Then for the Owen gun, like I said, this got a slight nerf with season 3 reloaded. So previously you'd be using a build that featured the shrouded barrel and the Granco 72. The fire rate got hurt here. It just doesn't feel as good as it did before. Now I'm going all out TTK. I want recoil booster, no barrel in this case. I'm going to go for either the Model 47 or the slate reflector optic. I prefer slate, but that is all preference based. Still going to go for remove stock in this case for the best mobility possible, but you'll notice the recoil is not super ideal. So you may want to change it out for something like maybe the ISO, which gives you just a better movement speed and less of a harsh recoil penalty there. I'm still definitely going for hand stop for the better control. The 60 round drums to maximize that TTK, and also 60 works fine for all squad engagements as well. Going for lengthened, definitely want to go for polymer in this case for that better control. Perk 1 going for acrobatic, perk 2 going for quick yet again. This is the top TTK Owen gun build that very few other weapons, maybe outside of the AS44, can actually compete with up close. Next up, I got the XM4, I got the MP-40. XM4 got a slight close range nerf with season 3 reloaded, but it's still very consistent over range, and the MP-40 was not touched with season 3 reloaded, so it's still an absolute beast up close. Great mobility, great TTK as well, and obviously very easy to use. The XM4 setup, again, not unique whatsoever. We're still running the basic copy and paste. 60, field agent, task force, agency, and the 3x optic yet again, so no surprises there. MP-40 setup, I'm still rolling with the short barrel. So we're going for recoil booster, short barrel for the better range somehow, but also the mobility on this setup is just phenomenal. I like the slate reflector. I'm not huge on the iron sights with the short barrel in specific. Folding stock in this case, don't use removed. You're not getting enough pros out of that. Folding for the better sprint to fire is super, super crucial. Gonna go for the skeletal underbarrel in this case for that better ADS, make it a bit more snappy. Granco 45 to make it a lot easier to use and just more consistent in my opinion. Lengthened, fabric or polymer. I like fabric, but if you're not super comfortable with the control, go for polymer. It'll make it a little bit easier for you. Perfectionist in this case for the better control, or steady for the slightly better ADS move speed. Nerves of Steel honestly wouldn't be too bad either. Any of those three you could choose and you'll be doing okay with. Although that said, Nerves of Steel is recoil while you're just injured. Perfectionist is recoil all the time, so take that for what it's worth. And then also quick or fully loaded on here per usual. Get that nice mobility. In my opinion, it's what I value a little bit more, but this setup still frying. Now next up, we got a bit of an interesting one. The NZ41 got a major buff with Season 3 Reloaded, so this is now easily a top choice for especially mid-range, some long range as well. The recoil here, it got buffed. but past, you know, 15, 16, 17 bullets, it's still going to be a little bit iffy. So you definitely want to make sure you're tap firing or shooting those first 15, stopping, restarting, just to maintain that good control. I'm pairing this with the PPSH from Vanguard, which is also still great. For the setup here, I'm going to go for the MX silencer. This does help out with the control some. Also, the range keeps us off the map too. Going to end up going for the Orb Weaver barrel. Better control, better velocity, just the best barrel for range. The 2.5 times optic for the better control, or any other optic you're comfortable with. For the stock here, going for padded, better control during sustained fire. Perk 1, I'm not really a huge fan of any of these, if I'm being honest. Frenzy is sort of quick fix in a sense. Acrobatics, slightly better move speed, but you're oftentimes running with your sub out, the PPSH in this case. Brace, but the initial firing recoil is not all that bad, so Frenzy sort of the lesser of all evils here. Perk 2, obviously fully loaded. Gonna go for Polymer on here as well for the better control. I feel like you kind of have to go for the Sakura 50 just because 30 and 40 is not really enough. 30 round fast mag is just your basic extended mag here, extended if you want to say. So Sakura 50 is sort of a no-brainer there. Going for lengthened and then also hand stop on here yet again. Definitely takes some getting used to, but it is a lot better than it was before. Then for the PPSH, I'm going for the basic ADS build here. We're going for recoil booster, the 300mm barrel for the better control primarily. For the optics, anyone you're comfortable with, I actually really like the ISO 3P iron sight here. I feel like it's super clean for close range. Gonna end up going for remove stock for the better mobility and then also the better sprint to fire. That's super crucial. You need to get some better hip fire out of that too, so it's like just constant pros out of that. Hand stop in this case just to help maintain some control. The Gorenko 71 for the best ADS TTK. Lengthened per usual. You could also run frangible on any of these subs if you wanted to as well. Gonna go for polymer in this case, or fabric if you're just really comfortable with control, you're really consistent with it. Fabric will give you that better ADS. Gonna go for tight grip for the better control, then also quick on here once more. One of the better TTKs in the game right now up close. Great mobility, like all around, very solid sub. Next class, gonna feature the bar and the brand new H4 Blixen. For what it's worth, as I'm recording this, the Blixen is a little bit broken where if you switch to it, you can't shoot with it right away. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend using this right now, but once it's fixed, it's one of the best subs in the game. Hits super hard, very consistent. The bar also just got buffed with Season 3 Reloaded, so it's now better than before. In this case, you could either go for the recoil booster, which did get a slight stealth nerf. It's going to be slightly worse control on this, but I don't feel like the control is too bad on the bar to begin with, so I like helping out that TTK there. We're going to go for either the 27 or the 30-inch barrel. Both of those are good choices. 30 obviously is going to give you the most control. 2.5 times or 3 to 6, whatever optic you're comfortable with. For the stock in this case, we're going to go for the Chariot. This is going to give us better control, better flinch resistance and whatnot on there as well. Hand stop for the better control. We're going to go for the 50 BMG 40. To me, 60 is just a little bit too heavy. This is already a pretty slow rifle, and 40 in this case, it was already the max before. It does work in fights. You just have to be a little bit mindful of when you got to reload. But if you want to try 60, you're just going to have to suffer the consequences of being very slow versus the other options here. Ammo, we're going to go for lengthened. Rear grip, going to go for polymer yet again. Perk 1, we're going to end up going for hard scope for that better recoil during sustained ADS. And then perk 2, obviously, going for fully loaded on here once more. Very consistent and relatively easy to use for this build. And then for the Blixen, we covered this just a couple of days ago. It's gonna be the same setup we broke down there. You got to be ranked 64, I think, to really maximize this setup for what it's worth. So recoil booster first up to help out that TTK. I feel like the F3 barrel is the best choice here. Better control, better velocity, also works well for a sniper support build. Gonna go for any optic you're comfortable with. Slate reflector is always a great choice. Some of the iron sights could be used well as well if you wanted to, if you are comfortable with those, but slate reflector, you can never go wrong with that. Gonna go for the remove stock. If you're not super on board with the control, MB is a great alternative. It's just like slightly less fast but easier to use, but I feel like remove stock's plenty doable right now. Hand stop on there, that's the last attachment you get at 64, so that's like the stopping point for me for leveling at least. For the magazine, the 9mm 72 works fine as a basic extended mag. I am liking the 54 though, with the better control, better headshot damage, and better ADS. Just makes it really good for a sub build. Gonna go for lengthened on here yet again. Gonna go for polymer as well, which you actually get pretty early on. Perk 1, going for perfectionist for the better control, and then also quick on here once more. And like I said, once this is fixed and it doesn't bug out when you're trying to switch to it, it's very solid. Following that, we got the FARA and the Armaguerra. FARA got a slight nerf, but it's still a top choice in my opinion, and the Armaguerra has been sort of spiking up in popularity recently because it's pretty solid up close and it's very easy to use. FARA's setup, no one is going to be shocked when I say it's the exact same as the other Cold War rifles. GRU, RPK barrel, the Spetsnaz grip in this case, the 60 round mag, and you guessed it, the 3x optic. And then for the Armaguerra here, first up, we're going for the recoil booster per usual. Also going to end up running the 550 03P barrel. This is going to make it consistent for close range and some medium range fights as well. Just some nice versatility there. I like running the slate reflector on this. Also going to end up going for the folding stock here. Skeletal usually is pretty good for mobility. In this case, it's kind of weird, and the other stocks are not really meant for aggressive builds, so folding is going to be the way to go for that. Also going to end up running hand stop yet again. For the magazine, honestly, the 9mm60, just your basic extended mag, works really, really well, and the TTK is very consistent. Going to end up running lengthened and polymer here yet again. Perk 1, we're going to go for hard scope. None of these other options are really all that great. Then perk 2, going to go for quick or fully loaded, whatever your heart desires. And you get a very consistent close range and some mid range as well with the Armaguerra here. And then lastly, we got sort of an experimental setup, the Bruen and the Cold War MP5. I would have had the OTS here. I would have had the Lapa here. Both of those got nerfed though, and so I wanted to go ahead and throw on the Cold War MP5, which still has a great TTK through about 12 meters. Also phenomenal mobility, and the Bruen actually has one of the best ranged TTKs now after the AMAX nerf, so this thing is absolutely frying. Here we're going for monolithic suppressor, the Summit barrel, or the largest barrel in this case. Also going to go for the tack laser, going to end up running the 60 round mag and then the VLK 3x optic. If you're not super comfortable with this control, drop tack laser, throw on commando foregrip. This build to me though is just that tad bit more aggressive, and I really like that out of it, so I'm comfortable with this, but go with whatever you are going to do the best with personally. And then for the Cold War MP5, here we're going for agency suppressor. We're going to end up running the Bruiser grip for better mobility. We're going to end up running the Tiger Team Spotlight for better mobility as well. So like very few things are going to outrun you or outgun you with this up close. We're going to go for the 50 round drum on here as well. And then lastly, you could go for a Raider stock if you wanted to, or you could go for a Serpent wrap for a better ADS time, or airborne elastic wrap if you wanted to as well. You don't need a barrel in this case. Task Force doesn't give you anything. It gives you like a meter extra for damage range. Not worth it. This setup very quick, and it kills very, very fast. So of course we got to be running that. Let's go ahead and throw in the new spicy Dark Ether on it. And that said, those are the top 10 loadouts to be running here in Warzone Season 3 after Season 3 Reloaded. That's going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, or if you have not already subscribed, every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. So feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.